Good afternoon. Tofu Tai-chi. Now what is that? Tofu Tai-chi is an expression in the Tai Chi world to designate the kind of Tai Chi that is quite widely practiced these days, which does not contain and is not based or is separated from martial principles. The principles of Tai Chi. Tai Chi as an origin, in its origin, is martial art. Martial art and the spiritual side or the alchemical side was developed parallel with the martial side, bit by bit. And later on, it became a health exercise when people understood that it was really good to do for health purposes. And today, throughout the world, millions upon millions of people practice Tai Chi for health. And that's fine. It's great. It's okay. Except when it is separated from the Tai Chi principles. Now, it is not necessary to practice Tai Chi as a martial art. Most practitioners don't practice Tai Chi as a martial art. I do, but many do not. It's not necessary. If you're not interested in martial art, which is understandable, that's fine. You can still practice Tai Chi, but please gain some knowledge of the principles, because they are the foundation and they will bring you health. If you separate the movements from those principles, you have what we call Tofu Tai-chi, which is you're just floating in space, or as my teacher used to say, Tai Chi is not about waving the arms and legs around in space. Okay? Now, Tofu has a kind of weak form, so it's kind of collapsed. And this is what we want to avoid. We want to avoid collapsed Tai Chi. Okay, I'm going to exaggerate a little bit. But you see what I mean. I'm not sure if I can really do it, because I don't practice that. My stuff is a little bit more yang. It's not, Tai Chi is not just yin. Tai Chi means yin-yang combined, harmonized. So we have to have the yang side. If you practice the form, if you practice the form and you have in your mind the principles, this is already a big plus. You're already going somewhere which will give you results. Okay, because we want to practice for results. Now, if you practice Tai Chi, for example, without sitting in space, I've covered sitting in space a lot in my videos. I'm sure you're very familiar with that. If you're not, and you're practicing like standing up, doing this, then as some people have pointed out, and it wasn't clear to me for many years, suddenly when I heard about it, I was like, immediately like, yeah, that person is right. Somebody said recently, Tai Chi is a terrible form of exercise. They're right. If you practice like this, how could I say, this kind of thing, there's no quality to it. You're not engaging into your inner systems of your body. You're not connecting to the earth. There's no root. We need to develop root. We need that the whole body's connected up. If you're floating in space and just doing some vague movements, you're just moving your arms around, yes, of course, this is not going to give you any benefits. You're much better off practicing yoga or Zumba or aerobics or sports. They will give you, obviously, a lot more benefits. It takes time. When you start to sit in space, you start to feel your legs. When your legs are tired, you've worked. You're beginning to get something, okay? And we must have very, very, very strong legs. A little story here. Yang Luqian, the founder of Yang-style Tai Chi Chuan, was the chief instructor of the bodyguard of the last emperor of China. And there's a story about him. It's a teaching story, so we take it a little bit tongue-in-cheek. But the story is that he arrives at the gates of the Forbidden Palace, I believe it's called, in Beijing. It's a huge place. So the gates, and he has to walk across a gigantic courtyard. I mean, I've seen pictures of it. It's just incredible. So he's walking across towards the entrance to the main place where he's going to go teach. And there's guard dogs that run at him and attack him. And he's just walking, strolling towards where he has to go. And they attack him. And the story says that they immediately ran off, and some of their teeth were left on the ground. They attacked his legs. So this is a teaching story. It's a metaphor for the idea that we must develop extremely strong legs. This will come with practice. Not necessarily in low postures, that helps, but it's not that necessary. What is necessary is really to sit and be internally aligned. So, that is Tofu Tai-chi in its concept. We want to avoid that if possible and really work to develop a deep Tai Chi. And when you start working on a deep Tai Chi, believe me, this is exercise, very strong, powerful exercise. I have taught athletes, I've taught circus performers, I've taught professional dancers, I've taught martial artists, and they all are astounded when they get really in deep and they really understand how much work is involved in the practice of Tai Chi Chuan. I'll leave you with that, so good luck to you, and hopefully you can take the tofu part out of your practice and develop the core work. Thank you for your attention. See you soon.